Before I get into this mega rant about Becky Lynch, Shayna Baszler main eventing WrestleMania 36 Night 1, before I get into that, just want to announce my second Q&A is going to be coming up fairly soon, probably next week sometime, so put your questions down below. I'll be taking questions for like 2 to 3 days before I start making the video and all that, so leave your questions down below. Ideally, just ask anything, I don't really care, so yeah, leave down below your questions. Without further ado, let's get into this epic rant. Are you kidding me? Becky Lynch vs Shayna Baszler set to main event WrestleMania 36 Night 1. Are you for real? Who is asking for this? Who? This is just the most politically forced example of the women's agenda that I've seen so far. And God, the women's revolution, whatever you want to call it, it's been bad for years as far as, you know, how much they force it. But this is a step too far. I mean, in all honesty, Becky Lynch vs Shayna Baszler main eventing WrestleMania over Randy Orton vs Edge, Drew McIntyre vs Brock Lesnar. Are you joking? Now, I'm making this video assuming that Vince McMahon has this match, Becky and Shayna, as Night 1, and Night 2, Roman Reigns and Goldberg or Oldberg. That's what I'm assuming he'll go with. Because if he ends up having Drew McIntyre vs Brock Lesnar main event Night 2, that's the right way to go. Will that happen? Doubt it. I so much doubt that, given that this match is main eventing Night 1. So, literally, when Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler go on to main event Night 1, that's going to be coming after such matches as Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, probably the Boneyard match, maybe Cena vs The Fiend, most likely Randy Orton vs Edge. Like, to think that this match is main eventing WrestleMania over Randy Orton versus Edge? What? What? You have to be kidding. Randy Orton and Edge have not put a foot wrong in this 2 months of WrestleMania build. It's been the best built match for World Wrestling Entertainment in I don't even know how long. Every week, when Randy does a promo, when Edge does a promo, when they do a segment together, it's must-see TV. It's awesome TV. It's just, like, they haven't put a foot wrong. But they're not going to main event. No. They're not even on the poster. I made a whole rant about that last WrestleMania video, but now, no. Randy Orton vs Edge, that's not going to main event at WrestleMania. Having Edge win his first match back in 9 years, that's not main event worthy. But the women's agenda is Becky Lynch main eventing her second consecutive WrestleMania is indicative of the WrestleMania main event. So look at it this way. This is how I see it. CM Punk is going to go down history at this very moment as main eventing 0 WrestleManias, despite being the best thing in the company from 2011 through end of 2013. So CM Punk has main evented no Manias. Becky Lynch is going to have main evented 2? What? Who's asking for this? Maybe in Becky's fantasy land where she's the face of the company, which, if you ask 100 people who the face of World Wrestling Entertainment is, if more than 2 say Becky Lynch, I'd be shocked. Like, the face of WWE, who is it? I say it's Brock, and it should be Drew McIntyre very soon. And who else? Cena still. Most people have Cena. Unfortunately, people say Reigns. And, like, no one is saying Becky Lynch is the face of the company. No one has said in the past year that anything the women have done on WWE main roster TV is must-see or interesting. Becky and Sasha's feud, 8 months ago, was good. But nothing the women have done on the main roster is worthy of a WrestleMania main event. Don't just give them this main event because they're women. That's downright sexist to men at this point. I'm not going to get into the whole sexism debate, but are you kidding me? Becky and Shayna main eventing Night 1 of WrestleMania. And literally, I looked at the WrestleMania card as of right now, which I'm currently filming this Australian time Wednesday morning. So this is going to be out probably Thursday morning my time, so it's going to be out in about a day. So maybe plans have changed and they're going to do what's right. And the main event of WrestleMania Night 1 is Randy Orton vs Edge. And the main event of Night 2 is Drew McIntyre, Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. But, God, the fact that this match is set to main event Night 1, knowing World Wrestling Entertainment and their track record, you know that this will be Night 1 main event. Night 2's main event will be Goldberg versus Roman Reigns. and it's just going to be this just Vince McMahon politically charged, just BS filled mess WrestleMania. Like, granted, WrestleMania, Cena vs. Fiend. I'm actually kind of looking forward to that after hearing that it's going to be more cinematic and it's going to be cool and creative. I'm looking forward to that. Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins. I'm now actually interested in seeing because of Rollins' promo on Raw. AJ Styles vs. Undertaker. I'm curious as to what the Boneyard match will look like. I'm interested there. Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar. I can't wait to see Drew McIntyre have his moment. Granted, there'll be no one there. That sucks, but I want to see his moment still. Randy Orton, Edge. Edge having his first match and probably win in 9 years. Those things I'm actually looking forward to. So my interest in WrestleMania has gone up the tiniest bit, even with Gronk as host, taking place over 2 nights, the fact that there's no one in the arena, all these external circumstances and some internal the World Wrestling Entertainment have done, including these garbage matches like Corbin vs. Elias, Aleister Black versus Bob Lashley, Angel Garza and Andrade versus Street Profits, these random nothing matches that shouldn't be on WrestleMania at all. These barely warrant SmackDown main events, let alone WrestleMania. So even though they've added all these random matches, even though Gronk's the host, even though it's over 2 nights in an empty arena, I'm still trying to be positive and build up hype. But then I see this, and I think, why bother? Because you know where this company's interests lie. It's, the women main event. The women main event. Why? Why? What has Becky and Shayna done to justify the main event? Look, Becky and Shayna main evented in that Triple Threat Survivor Series. That match was 3 stars at best. It was a boring 20-minute Triple Threat match that got nothing but negative feedback about how disappointing the match was. And then they claim that when men main event, they have a disappointing match, it's fine, but when women do it, it's sexist. No. I and a bunch of the wrestling fan base with a half working brain complain if it's a disappointing main event. I don't care what sex you are. If the match is disappointing, it's disappointing, Becky, okay? So shut your mouth. But literally, the fact that match main evented then, it was a disappointment. The women then main evented at TLC in the Kabuki Warriors versus Becky and Charlotte women's tag title match, which the fact that the women's tag titles main evented a pay-per-view is baffling, but regardless, that match main evented there, and it was I mean, Charlotte throwing Kairi Sane into the barricade and then headfirst onto the concrete floor, that ruined the match, because that was 5 minutes in, and we got 20 more minutes of wrestling where one woman was concussed. So that match I'll give a pass, but it was still a dud match. And then you have the women, the Royal Rumble. The Women's Rumble match was just Becky versus Asuka was good, and then Bayley versus Lacey was whatever. And then you roll into the Elimination Chamber, the women main event with the Shayna Baszler Raw Women's title number 1 contenders chamber match, and it was another disappointing, god-awful, boring main event. Probably the worst chamber match in WrestleMania, in just history of the chamber. So you get that. The women have had 3 pay-per-view main events in the past few months. None of them have been like matches that you want to go watch back. They've all been 3.5 stars at absolute most. 3 stars if we're being honest. And then the women's chamber match was like a dud to 2 stars. So you get this whole body of evidence that the women main eventing isn't a good idea from the standpoint of delivering a good match. And what are Becky and Shayna going to do? If you've seen one Shayna match, you've pretty much seen them all. They're just about all the same. Becky, her matches are just about all the same as well. So you probably can get like a 3.5 star match here with Shayna winning the women's title. Okay. I'd much prefer to see Randy Orton and Edge have this like awesome, sick match where I'm invested in amazingly, like, to extents, and I'm watching Randy Orton and Edge go at it one-on-one. That's what I and everyone wants to see main event night 1. It doesn't have to be for the championship. It's about Edge avenging Randy Orton for what he's done to him. This great storyline that's gone on with Randy Orton being this sadistic, demonic heel. Edge, the heartfelt babyface, him getting the win on night 1. You don't need a championship. That has all the making for a great Mania main event. But no. Get your women's agenda in. We're WWE. Who are we going to main event night 1? Becky. Shayna. Just give them the main event. I mean, this goes to show how much of like a farce that story that Vince has done with Shayna Baszler was a month ago. Because if Vince was done with Shayna Baszler, she wouldn't have won the Elimination Chamber the way she did in the main event of that pay-per-view, and she wouldn't be set to main event WrestleMania. This is the main event of WrestleMania. Granted, The Miz's main event of WrestleMania, Lawrence Taylor's main event of WrestleMania, even to an extent Bam Bam Bigelow, it's a bit of like a head scratcher. But this is still WrestleMania. This is the biggest wrestling show all year. And look, I know it's night one, night two, so it's not just the sole main event. But this is the WrestleMania main event. I don't care. This is the thing that CM Punk dedicated his whole career to getting to, but never got there. Even though, in my opinion, he should have main evented 3 WrestleManias. WrestleMania 27 should have been Cena vs. Punk. 29 should have been Cena vs. Punk vs. Rock, and a 3-way. And 30 should have been Punk Bryan. But no. Becky's main evented 2, Punk's main evented none. It's just, this whole show, WrestleMania, you look at the whole night 1, night 2 format, is this enticing at all? Like, if all these matches were on one show, it'd probably be redeemable. Granted, the show would be 7.5 to 8 hours long and unbearable. But looking at this card that we're going to get, like, as of this video, we haven't got a set in stone night 1 card and night 2 card, and WrestleMania is set to be taped tonight when you're watching this. But literally, on one night, well, let's just do a hypothetical. Let's say night 1, we'll get the Boneyard match, Randy Orton versus Edge, or maybe Drew McIntyre versus Brock, and then we get Becky versus Shayna, and then Owens Rollins, Street Profits versus Andrade and Garza. What else? Baron Corbin, Elias, and Otis versus Ziggler. Let's just say that's night 1. Is that like an enticing show to watch? Like, when you split the cards up, neither of them are that interesting. And to think that the main events of the show, the thing you're going to sit through 3.5 to 4 hours to get to, is Becky versus Shayna, and then most likely Reigns versus Goldberg. Like, just... you see what I mean? Just this, it's baffling. And these are the internal things that I talked about in that video where WrestleMania 36 has internal consequences and external consequences, or ramifications with what they've done. Yes, externally, this virus, the outbreak, the pandemic, causing travel bans and all this disaster, all this shutdown and everything, so that WrestleMania can't take place in front of 80,000 people, and now it's going to be taped a week and a half out in front of no one. Okay, that's external, you can't control that, it's good you're putting on a show. But you're still putting on a show, and you're the WWE. I expect and I want, as a fan, to have entertaining and quality stuff on the show. Things that make sense, things that are logical, and you're going to give us Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar thrown away on one of the nights as a co-main event. You're going to have Drew McIntyre have his moment on the undercard. And to think that Drew McIntyre's not main eventing, I genuinely have the worry that Drew McIntyre is not going to win at this point. Because if Drew McIntyre is not main eventing, well, what's the point of having him win the title if he's not main eventing? Drew McIntyre winning the title is the moment you have main event one of the shows. And to think that you're not going to have that most likely if you... this whole thing's a disaster. Because you know that Roman Reigns is going to main event and win the title from Goldberg on one night. You know that's what they're going to do. And if they don't do that, then... what, are they listening? I mean, clearly not, because Shayna vs. Becky is set to main event one of the nights. It's just... I don't get this company. I just don't. What are they doing? Like, when the women deserved a main event, like at 35, when they were the most captivating thing on the show, or co-most captivating with Kofi Mania, when they were the most interesting thing on the show, cool, all good. I've no issues with them main eventing 35, with Ronda, Charlotte, and Becky. But this is a mid-card match, and it's going to main event WrestleMania. Becky Lynch is not the face of the company. No one says she is, outside of herself. Shayna Baszler, I made the whole video yesterday about how I don't get the hype or buzz around her. So you're getting these two women clashing in the main event of WrestleMania. What a joke. So that's the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Be sure to like, comment, and sub. WrestleMania, every single day, is just getting less and less interesting. And I'm sure, so Becky vs. Shayna is set to main event as of the moment. Reigns and Goldberg will main event the other night. As of the making of this video, in a few hours' time, they're probably taping WrestleMania. So they'll have it taped, and then they'll tape the night after, and then more than likely, results will be leaked. So we'll have spoilers of WrestleMania. So that come Sunday night, like this Sunday night, a week out from WrestleMania, there'll be no interest or buzz, because you'll know that, Shayna beat Becky in the main event of night 1. Reigns beat Goldberg in the main event of night 2. Lesnar beat McIntyre, or McIntyre won, but it was on the undercard. Like, you see what I mean? It's just so deflating. So yeah, like, comment, sub. You guys know the drill. See ya.